one of the biggest problems in this market, which is bots and alt accounts. This is actually one of the largest
Bon, dans
problems
tous les cas,
hurting Web3 at the moment right now is that there's so many extractive accounts posing as real users. The biggest challenge we're running
un
into is
dollar.
that it's much harder to find product market fit and build that post mint velocity when you have to cut through, right, so many of these major problems in this overall marketplace. That's another layer that just seems insurmountable.
Je vais voir
And
comment
the
faire.
number is pretty wild when we start looking at how many fake alt accounts there are. They actually massively outnumber the amount of real active wallets, especially in a bear market. And this is what gets really scary is that during a bull market, right, we have all of this, activity of real users and also alt
La
accounts,
bête allée.
but they're blended enough and there's enough volume and
Ah, je te parle.
velocity that we kind of ignore it. But what's crazy is that when we go to a bear, right, and we lose 90% of the active traders, right, or active collectors, let's say 80 to 85% of these active collectors are gone. What's crazy is that the number of bots doesn't decrease. If anything, it actually increases. There might be less incentives in a bear market to start up new bot networks, but if you've already set one up, there's probably still meaningful enough value for you to extract. And this becomes like our big issue in bottom of bear is that by some numbers and some accounts, when
Il
we
faut
look
des
at bots
écouteurs,
and
attends.
alts, um, there's actually an estimation that bots and alts outnumber real users 5 to 1 to sometimes even 10 to 1 in certain accounts. That's insane, right? If we're realizing that we're not even playing against each other, but rather we're playing against bots and extractors, this is not a fair level field, like playing field, right? And this then becomes this question of are you actually able to find product market fit when you have to move towards through all of that kind of unstructured networks that unfortunately are extractive rather than value additive, right? And this is kind of why I think Tribe has to figure out a different way to navigate this because we still hold a few different assumptions, right? And I want to talk to you about that because I want you to always understand how we're building. So, one of our assumptions is that we expect a sideways and or bear market for at least another 3 to 6 months. Right? This is the expectation. We believe especially going into Q4 where traditional consumer markets and Web2 see peak markets, right? Like November to December tends to be a very good market for gaming, right? Tends to be a very good market for consumer entertainment, film, games, television, toys, right? These all tend to be high sales, especially due to seasonals. But when it comes to Web3, it's almost the inverse because we have to deal with taxes, right? End of year taxes leads to a very different relationship to the perceived spending that we would traditionally want into a Q4 sector. And you can see this historically, like Q4 volume traditionally tends to be lower and slow down. And we kind of expect that, of course, in this bear market. And then as we churn into Q1, there may be some elements that can ignite the overall market, but the real likelihood is that Q1 still requires more recovery time. So, with these assumptions, what we have to understand is then what is the value that we can still offer in a sideways bear market? That becomes the real large question. I feel a lot of builders believe they can be the outliers. And you know what? All power to them. If you believe you have a compelling enough project that become an outlier to the overall standing of the system, like I love the conviction that people may have, but it still also is a very brutal task, right? Becoming an outlier in such negative adverse conditions in such a market traditionally has not gone well. And we can see that, right? Especially if you're not able to compound that with multiple layers of value. And that was the second big insight we tap into, right? The second big insight we tap into is that the expectations of Web3 holders are significantly higher than a traditional Web2 consumer. And that's because holder versus consumer are two very different relationships. They still need to be defined. But what is the biggest problem is most people are getting a little bit tripped up into thinking holder means investor, right? So there's a lens that you may hold at the top where you believe you are a capital allocator and you should be involved in every decision. While a Web2 consumer, on the other hand, is just give me the product and I don't need to have any other relationship with you as well. And I think this is now the interesting thing is that we now need to re-establish what it means to truly be a holder and be able to understand what that relationship is going to be moving forward. Because if we don't recorrect that establishment, right, of that value and what the position for both, builder and collector needs to be, you're going to have more of this misalignment. And when I say more of this misalignment, it's pretty funny when we were walking through this on a few different projects with our web 2 VC connections, and then we also shared the same progress to web 3 traders and collectors. The same update that we shared to these two different networks had two different responses, right? And what do I mean by that? Well, one of the things that was really interesting is that when we talked to a lot of these Web 2 VCs and builders, they were absolutely amazed by the pace of build, of hiring, of growth, and of value being delivered for a traditional, early stage startup, right? Hiring takes a long time, right? Finding the right fit takes a lot of time, right? Finding, revenue generation early in your career takes a lot longer. But when you share those same updates to a Web3 native audience, right, it's very easy for them to be like, oh, that's cool, but what's next? What's next? What's coming up next? That's always the expectation, right? Is there's almost needs to be something right around the corner. And this is the very hard challenge then when you're building in Web3. The amount of content and build velocity you need is significantly higher than any other Web2 project. And we understand this historically, right? Hence why we put a very large emphasis on audio content. Audio content was one of the formats that we could do large amounts of content, provide a reward structure for it, but also more importantly, keep a relationship that is very different to the rest of the market, right? Our relationship tends to be more of this kind of, voice communication, while majority of Web3 tends to be very driven by, crypto Twitter or just simple text messages as well. So our big challenge is how do we take all of that knowledge and then turn that into a new product? And what does that product need to look like, especially even in a bear? And the challenge as well about building in a bear is that you also have to recognize is that the market maturity for tradable assets still isn't there. And this is like the hard pill to swallow. And I want to keep it I want to give it to you guys straight, right? What I would say is that it's been really interesting to see a few short term kind of signals kind of pop up that are somewhat positive, right? So a lot of people point to say Zynga, excuse me, and what they've done with Sugartown auras, right? Sitting at like 0.23, 0.24 ETH at the moment right now, which is great from a free mint going to 0.24 ETH. That's really great from a trader perspective if you're looking to mint and flip that in a near term. But if you actually look at a few of the other variables around that, but you'd actually recognize in a lot of ways that that's actually still a very unsuccessful target floor price if I were in Zynga shoes. And let me tell you why. One, if this is aimed to be a Genesis pass for your entire ecosystem, what you're recognizing is that the floor of the existing NFT does not allow for enough yield value for anything that may come from that asset to have meaningful hold value or meaningful trade value. Because if you're, say, hovering around 0.25 ETH, right? Realistically, the next yield is probably going to have a 4-to-1 or a 5-to-1 price ratio based off how we've seen the market kind of do this, right? We could see some of the relationships between, Bored Apes and Mutants. We could see the price ratio delta between Azuki and Beans or Azuki and Elementals, right? And those ranges could be from like 4-to-1 ratio to even as high as 10-to-1 ratio. And in that case, right, what you realize is that you don't have enough room to build a factory like environment, which may or may not be Zynga's interest. But that's the actual crazy thing, is that in a lot of ways, I would argue from a corporate perspective, Zynga's launch is actually far from ideal. And it's actually an unsuccessful launch for the type of impact that they're probably seeking long term. Again, I'm not saying it's a failure by any means. I'm not saying it's a incorrect play that they had made. It's understanding the realization that a multi-billion-dollar gaming startup just gave a free mint access pass with somewhat cap supply. It is 10,000 total, but only 6,000 in market at the moment right now. And it's only been able to hit a 0.25, 0.23. To put that into context from a floor perspective, right? That is actually what Dimensionals is kind of at, right? I think they're at 0.19 at the moment right now after their whole cycle. Again, these are different supplies, 1,000 to 6,000, so might not be perfectly fair to compare. But it's recognizing the importance of small supply, but it's also recognizing the importance of what are your goals with the primary asset and how does that impact the rest of the ecosystem. And these are actually really important for us to take back, because when I'm a builder who has a very, very high standard for where I believe Oath can be, right? Where I believe Reapers can go, where I believe Tabula Rasa can go, where I believe all of our assets in the ecosystem that we're playing, right? What we're really starting to recognize is that our goals must be much higher than what we're seeing in the market today if we actually want, right, the sustainability long term of these assets. And floor price is still one of those crude measurements, and I do want to I do want to like be very clear. It's a crude but very easy source of measurement that can really be designed to be in a very different way, right? And that's kind of the biggest challenge here as well. And sure, maybe factory NFTs may not be the right thing, but all I can tell you is that factory NFTs aren't the right thing if you mess up the initial floor, right? And that's kind of the biggest problem here, is that you don't get to even have the choice of a factory NFT if the first asset doesn't sustain.
Allô?
And factory NFTs are definitely not going to be
Allô?
the only way for growth,
Bonjour?
right? That's kind of the important thing also to
Toujours aigri, c'est pas
understand,
possible.
is that factory NFTs is just one part of our thesis, right? We also believe in creative, like creator owned NFTs, right? That's what Reapers is going to play a lot larger role on, right? Where there is a co creative ownership of the process to be able to distribute value in different ways. And we're adding different layers of game theory. And that's actually how we
Il me
think the
casse la tête
next
ce bruit.
evolution of the market needs to get, is that there needs to be a full step up in regard to the game theory on what is being designed with these smart contracts. Right now, the game theory is so broken. It's so boring. It's so uninteresting. The game theory really is just, can you launch something that has more buying interest than selling interest? And can you do that and sustain that over long periods of time? That is literally really the only game theory that is being designed thus far in the market. And I think that it's a crude way of establishing relationships between long term holders who actually want to play much more interesting games. And with those interesting games, the other big problem that we run into, right, is we run into the other factor that when it comes to Web3, everything is overtly financialized, right? It's this idea that it must give me yield for it to have value, right? It must give me economic ROI yield for it to have value. And that is actually the crux of what Soul is trying to go after. Soul is redesigning, right? A massive way for us to reward you without the expectation of economic ROI, right? Upfront. And we want to share why that's going to be critical to our thesis because it's all going to come down to this concept of on chain reputation. We believe Tribe is one of the few organizations that is actively focusing on measuring, applying, and valuing your on chain reputation, but also your interactions within communities as well. And of course, we're primarily starting with our own community of building that here in Tribe. That's why we have relics. That's why we have pendants. That's why we have different badges based off what assets you own from our partnership ecosystem. There's a history for some of you who've been here 9+ months, right? And that's kind of where all of this now comes in together is how do we turn this into a product in a positive way that puts you guys in the power position? That's what we're actually really trying to think through with Soul. So with Soul, that means that we had to take a very large leap, right? And when we had to take a very large leap, we had to rethink what would that relationship be in regard to the assets, how we deliver those assets, and more importantly, what do the value those assets unlock over time? And this is kind of the biggest thing that I'm so excited about at Tribe is because we have history, we can actually start building legacy, right? History to legacy is a very interesting concept. And again, it's still relatively short, right? Again, this entire market is incredibly short timeline as well. But the biggest thing that you can do in this market is honor those actions as much as we can to move them towards you building your own Web3 on chain legacy. That's what we really want to do. And we want Tribe to be an anchor for that. And how is Tribe a unique anchor for that? Well, Tribe's a unique anchor because we are partnering with projects at three different levels. And this is what Soul will start unlocking for you guys. It's those access to those three different levels. And you've already seen that kind of value by being in this ecosystem. You know that we have our first party projects, right? That we're building. You know that we have our village partnerships where we're actually curating direct partnerships, pre mint and post mint to bring them up for launch. Our pipeline's already still big with Jungle and TWL. But then beyond that, right, we have this extended network where we're getting so much allocation and partners who want to be a part of our world as well too and have access to our distribution. I think just in the next 3 weeks alone, there's like at least four something is mintings, with each one having hundreds of allocation to our community each, right? And this is kind of why I'm really stoked about where this is going because in the end, we have to build a new path if Tribe is going to get to the promised land. And we think the promised land is having an aligned, entrenched, and more importantly, rewarded community. So we've been rewarding you guys very meaningfully off chain. Our goal is now to take some of that rewards and move that on chain. And that's what the Soul ecosystem is effectively going to unlock. So hopefully that gives you a framework. What I want to now do is I actually want to share the presentation. I want to walk you through slide by slide on how this is going to work. I'm going to give you some insights into some of the PFPs that you're going to see for the souls. So everyone who owns a Genesis Soul, you'll be able to claim a PFP as well, and we'll share what those are going to be here as well. And the best part is that the entire Soul process is designed to be free claims, right? You're only just paying gas. There will be some optional paid stuff that are purely extra, but literally every claim is accessible for free as long as you own a soul, which I think is going to be pretty exciting because this is not going to be an extractive design. And this was the third biggest key element we wanted to solve, right? Is that if we're not requiring, right, if we are trying to essentially build a relationship with you of assets that may not have direct economic ROI, we shouldn't be extracting you for that as well, right? And I think that's important because again, this is the biggest relationship advantage that Tribe has, right? When you look at at what we've done, the limited amount of ETH we've actually asked for our community is quite crazy, right? 99% of you have paid us less than a combined 100 ETH, right? And then the small 1% of you have spent, a handful of ETH on diamonds, which again, we value very significantly. And you'll see that here as well in this structure. But our goal is that if we're going to make it in this bear with you, we can't be extracting you, right? If we're going to be making into this bear, it's compounding your on-chain value while also increasing your on-chain access. And that's access not only through our first party stuff, but of course through our extended network. And that's how we think a actual organization survives here. It means that we have more patience, it means that we are more long term committed, and it means that we're going to do stuff slightly off the standard path. So I'm going to show you what that looks like, and we're going to show you some of those pieces as well, which is going to be great. Give me just a second, and let me get this in presentation mode. Present, present. All right, one sec. Let me. Discord's been a little weird. All right. I think you guys can see my screen here as well. Yeah, can you guys thumbs up or just message if you can see it? Sweet. Okay. So let's actually start from the first page here. So, the goal here for Tribe is has always been this kind of concept of finding your vibe, right? And this is still a very big thing for Tribe. And what I mean by that is our goal is really to ensure that we can give you guys access to the vast amount of things happening in Web, right? It's not just a concept of how do we give you one asset and then move on. It's how do we introduce you to hundreds of assets and then you hopefully find one, two, three, or four of them that are worthy of you embracing their community, participating in their world, and scaling. In a weird way, we want to give you assets that you don't sell. That's our goal, right? It doesn't mean that we don't mind if you sell. We don't. But right, we know we've done our job if we give you assets that you don't want to sell. And that's really essentially how Soul is going to be starting off, right? So it's almost this framework of a passport, but we're calling it a port key. And our goal is to unlock your actual tribe identity to be on chain. And what do I mean by that? Right. So, why am I excited about what we're designing here? The biggest goal is that I want to take your entire identity. When you click on anyone in this room, right? You could click on any person, like I'll grab PJ Crypto Crazy, and you could quickly see what his level of participation, access, and interest was in this ecosystem. You could see what he owns, you could see what his participation was in season 1 and season 2, and you could also see what he's done thus far in season 3. There's a beauty to that because it means that it's giving you a sense of, again, the relationship of what your participation is in this ecosystem, and it's not being lost or forgotten. What we want to do is we want to take a lot of that information and now bring that online. And that's essentially what your tribe identity and this port key is going to be. But as we talk through this a little bit more, right, our goal is to build on chain reputation with our tribe. So the idea is that we take the same reputation standard you have internally in our Discord, and we're now moving it on chain to a certain extent. About 90% of that information is going to move on chain, which we think is really exciting. Because not only is that exciting for us, because we can now give you rewards based off an on chain identity leveraging smart contracts, but two, anyone else could leverage your on-chain identity. If they value what Tribe is doing, you could actually get tapped in for rewards and access to the Tribe community based off your port key and passport. And that's where it gets really exciting is that we're opening up the access of your engagement to everyone else. And that means they could actually highly reward you if they value the same metrics.
if they value activity, if they value purchasing spend, if they value holder power, if they value depth of engagement or community building value. All of this stuff will actually have on-chain elements that people could tap into for greater value creation. And this means that over time, what is our goal? We want you to help earn and unlock access as you roam Web3. So no matter where you go, we hope the port key is something that you'll be taking with you along the way because it's in your digital wallet, and that port key will unlock different benefits over time, right? Different access over time. Maybe you'll get early entry into project. Maybe you'll get a special raffle for a project. Maybe you'll be able to get a free claim for a project. These are the elements that we want to tap into and use the tribe partnerships to be able to scale. From there, what we also want to do is we want to collect digital assets that are true to you, right? So we're actually building this as a wallet framework, and you'll hear a little bit more about the 6551 framework that we're going to be tapping into, because all these digital assets are going to fall under one wallet, which is going to be pretty interesting. And this will allow you to compound your growth and relationship with Tribe. And what's really exciting as well is that it is bound to start, but the rest is unknown. That's probably the biggest alpha I can share here is that this is intentionally designed to be bound, right? And what's really exciting then is that once these are bound, you'll be able to use them for your identity, but maybe over time that status may change, right? And this is kind of the biggest thing that we really want to be able to unlock is that if there is value for tradable assets, we'll definitely allow for that over time. But for now, assume everything is bound. Everything is not tradable at the moment right now. That's kind of what you want to understand because that's how we build trust. That's how we build alignment and that's how we build growth. This is actually our biggest value proposition of Soul and Soul 2, right? Is the fact that all of you have a bound relationship with us that has spanned multiple months. And this is kind of why I'm excited about this is because as more people see your guys' commitment and collaboration and loyalty to this project, not only will you get more reveals from us and more value from us as Tribe as an entity, but we hope that it will be compounded by others and they can now access that information and data. And we're going to be building a framework around this, how to value the stuff within your wallet for any external party, which I think will be really valuable over time. So, what does that mean? What does a port key mean? Why are we designing in this way? What is this concept of a passport as well? Well, the word passport's been used by everyone, so we didn't want to use it. We wanted to go with something a little bit more futuristic. So, our version is a port key. We've designed a completely unique visual for this port key, and it will actually be the first thing that you are claiming, right? Again, it will be a free claim, and we'll talk through that. We're not going to show you the visual of the port key yet. We want that to be a pretty amazing reveal, mainly because it might be the fucking best pixel art that this company has ever done, right? Which is really, really exciting, right? I'm so excited about the design, the structure. When you see these port keys, it will blow your mind. It's literally some next level shit. But let me show you the framework of how it's being installed so you can actually see the architecture as well on this on how we're building this. So the philosophy here is that we want to create one key to rule them all, right? So this is kind of this concept of the port key, right? One ring to rule them all. In this case, it's one port key to rule them all. In order to be a part of Tribe, you must claim a port key, right? That's really where we're taking your souls and bringing them into the port key framework as well. Your souls still have value, but the primary value is going to be this claim on this port key, which is going to be really exciting. And if you want to be part of Tribe and you want to be part of our extended network, right, the key is just claim your port key. And anyone could claim a port key by owning a soul, right? And you could still buy a season 2 soul right now, and then you'd be able to claim a port key immediately. So it's still accessible. But the thing that's different about us leaving this open is that What's not accessible to them is the historical history of what you built with Tribe. Your history is actually going to be more valuable than anything else. We're empowering the user more than anything. That's really where we're excited about where this design is going. So let's look at what that architecture visually will look like for each and every one of you. And you can see one of the first, visuals of what a PFP spirit would look like. It's there in the bottom left. I'll actually upload it here as well in the chat so you can see. What's really cool is that what we've been doing is that we've been having fun, again, pushing the level of pixel art and really focusing on the concept of what a soul could look like. So, what we think a soul looks like in this kind of visual establishment is that there's some type of ethereal, body, and then on front of that body, there's a mask and other elements that are slightly different in the visual design. So here's just one of them. I've uploaded in the chat that you can see. This is a little bit rarer. This is a glitch art version of this as well. So these are all fully generative. What's crazy is that you will all be getting a fully animated PFP, right? That will be generative with these designs and will have totally different looks. And I'll share some more with you as well. But that's kind of the power of what we're looking at here is that when we're looking at this system in this architecture, what you have at the top here is that you'll have the port key. And this is just a fake little image that I found just to drop in for now. We'll reveal exactly what the port key looks like later. But what this port key is going to do, it's going to use an ERC 6551 shared wallet framework. And within that wallet framework, we're going to give you multiple claims that are going to be all within this port key, right? So the first claim you guys are going to be able to get are you're each going to be able to get what we call a spirit. This would be what your soul PFP will be. You each will receive one generative soul spirit. And in this, that will be an ERC 721, mainly because it is generative art with generative data. But it doesn't stop there, right? Our goal is to keep adding more stuff. So the other thing we're going to add is that we're adding a whole new art component here in Q4 that goes beyond our internal resources and working with external partnerships. We're also going to be giving you your own art gallery within your port key. So this means that we're actually going to fuel it by giving you guys layers of art. This will be across photography, and in future seasons, it will also be around generative art. It could be around physical art. We want to really make art a larger part of this world and this ecosystem, mainly because by being here so early, we believe art is one of the healthiest things you could introduce to your portfolio as well. The third area that we're going to add is we're a comic book store essentially. We have multiple comics getting lined up and structured for this. What's really exciting is that not only are there comics across multiple franchises, at the moment, there are currently four different franchises with multiple comics already in production and done. But what's even cooler about that is that the comics will also have rarity in terms of different covers, signed autograph editions, and a few other elements as well. Comics are going to be a pretty large focus, comics and manga, if we're going to expand the category. We really believe that A, not only do we have a killer team for that, but B, we have an amazing way to distribute that value not only to Web3 users, but also to Web2 users as well. Behind the port key as well, what we're also going to add are badges. And these will be badges for our partnership badges if you own assets from any of the other worlds that we partner with, like Ether, Dimensionals, Jungle, TWL. And we have a handful of more partners as well coming through. But also, we're going to give you badges for your seasonal pendants as well. So if you've been earning high quality seasonal pendants, those will also be coming into your on chain reputation in the form of badges too. And what's cool is that we're going to give you a lot of group claims on this so that our goal is to keep the cost as low as possible. The other nice thing is that's why majority of these are also 1155 frameworks, mainly because with the 1155 framework, usually the gas claim costs are significantly cheaper as well. So we're trying to make sure that we keep this as near zero cost as we possibly can for that opportunity. But the biggest thing to understand is the port key is just starting with this stuff in Q4. This is just the stuff you're getting now. We believe everything we do is going to drive through the port key moving forward. Literally everything we do, right? Our goal is to push this to another level. And because of this, all of you will be able to get access to this as long as you have a soul, right? And this is the nice little thing about each of these pieces is that it serves as the framework of collectible value, but it also serves as your reputation value, but it also serves as your identity value as well. And again, this doesn't have to be your only identity, right? We actually think in the future, a lot of people, right, are going to want to create their own versions of a port key, right? We really do believe that. And in that, right, that means that we have to be really good at what we're offering, but we want to set the standard by making sure that we could deliver this to you guys again for no additional cost outside of gas. And that's the other beauty about this entire system is that you'll have again extended open windows to claim, right? Meaning that you won't have to be in a rush to drive or capture anything. And the other best thing about this is that your on chain and your off chain engagement will be measured collectively. The other cool thing about the port key as well is that we're going to give you guys a lot of other upside to be able to connect your other social layers. And this is another important thing for the port key, right? We also want to make sure that we can build your identity across the board, right? And that's through three different locations. It's wallet, Discord, and Twitter, right? And that's really what's important because those are the three core communication layers that we want to be able to identify your value on behalf of others. So if you're a real user who actually cares about Web3, we hope this is something that you're going to rejoice over because we're actually offering it for you. And what's great is that we're not holding your value internally. This is actually, I think, the most compelling thing that Tribe is doing. We want to let everyone else in the world know how amazing each and every one of you are. And we want to do it with these different on chain elements that are coming. And as Tribe gains more respect, more leverage, more value, people will start looking into this framework to start asking themselves, how should I curate a new community? I hope their answer is, hey, have you checked the Tribe network? Have you checked the port key holders? Have you seen what their kind of value is long? All of that stuff is on chain, right? And that's what's actually really brilliant about this because not only are they going to get your wallet data to an extent, right? Because that's all open and accessible, as you already know. But we're also going to give them anonymous engagement data on your behalf as well, tied to your wallet, right? Anonymous in the fact that I don't need to know who any of you are. I don't need to know your real names. I'm not asking for KYC, not asking for any of that. All I'm asking for is help us stitch and prove that you are a real user, right? Help us make sure that we can actually present you as real valued users to the rest of Web3. And if we do that correctly over the next 3 to 4 weeks, sorry, 3 to 4 months, as we get through this in Q4, we will have an unfair advantage on distribution, on partnerships, and for value creation while delivering this still as a non extractive asset that has no form of manipulated value, right? There should be no form of manipulated value. And that's what I'm really excited about because I want to bring real users back to Web3, right? And real users in Web3 that we can positively curate, align, and support is actually going to be one of the most fundamental reasons we think the next wave is going to be successful, right? You actually have to solve for that if you want Web3 to grow, or we are going to be stuck in this play. And here's the other beautiful part about this entire thing long term. We could also create this port key to be claimable with no actual need to create your own wallet in the future, right? Meaning that we could do this in a full custodial design when we do want to onboard Web2 people as well. It's not that we plan to do that anytime soon. I do want to be very clear. Our focus right now for our core product is Web3 natives when we are saying the word NFTs. If we're not saying the word NFTs, we do have one product line that is going to go directly to Web 2, and that is the comic book side. We believe we have an unfair advantage of building a comic and manga based product experience. And if we can do that, there's going to be a lot of other value too. Additionally, behind this architecture, there's going to be other weights, and we're going to talk about that as well too. Here on where you're going to get a lot of cool upside in the product experience. But hopefully, this gives you a lens on just the rough architecture, but also this is the architecture just for Q4 alone. So you can only imagine what else is going to come into the port key, right? Including multiple assets in our game world too, could also be going into the port key. But again, if we have something that is a standalone tradable asset that might not be introduced to the port key, but there will be always a way that it connects to value in the port key as well. What you have here in the port key is more of your identity and non tradable assets, right? That's what we're trying to build here. And we believe this will help you guys get more value over time, not only through our ecosystem, but through partner ecosystems as well. So everything here is awarding it for loyalty to tribe, right? Loyalty in our tribe, loyalty in our design. This is why we've always said GP equals GA. The greater you participate, the greater your access. And your port key also is going to have rarity claims as well. There's not just one type of port key. There are multiple types of port keys, and there will be also multiple impacts on the yields of what you're getting within each sub item as well. And we've always hinted at this. So your rarity of your passport or your port key claims, I should change this all to port key. I use the word passport to explain it to our devs, but port key claims is based off your asset ownership, right? So the first thing that's going to matter is the tribe assets, of course, right? So there's three tribe assets that matter in this story, right? Those three assets include oh, it's weird when I spin off, it shows off. Those three assets include the Diamond, Genesis Soul, and Soul Season 2. If you have a Diamond, you're great. You're going to get your own custom port key. It will be one of a kind, only available to Diamond based holders, and that will come with its own exclusive claims. Additionally, if you have souls and stuff like that, that's great, but really, you just need the Diamond. You're good. If you own multiple souls, right, meaning you own both Genesis and Soul Season 2, you will get a rarer claim, right? And if you only own one soul, right, either one, you'll get a more common claim of the port key. Additionally, there's Amplifier with partner assets. The two partner assets that we'll be including in this season are both Dimensionals and Ether. So if you own assets in those worlds and are whales in those ecosystems, you will also have access to claim this. Because again, our goal is to help raise everyone's value in our ecosystem, right? That we want to support directly or indirectly as well, whether it be short term or long term. We value all of you guys who are participating in these worlds as well. So in the future, you'll see partner assets for Jungle, you'll see partner assets for TWL. We'll also add those in, and those will also have exclusive claims and badges too. We'll share a full breakdown. There's also a third layer of value, and we've always told you that there's an additional value if you were an early claim of these souls. And that will also be a small weight that will allow you to have an additional claim that we'll talk about later. So, additionally, right, what you want to understand is that you can get a rarer port key by owning a diamond, right? And of course, you could get rarer port keys by owning both souls. That's why we always do recommend if you are an active user and you value what this ecosystem is building, right? And you already own a Genesis Soul, buying a Soul Season 2 is probably ideal for you if you're active. If you're not active, don't worry. You don't need it. You just need one soul to be able to make these claims. But again, the rarity of your port key will also impact the rarity of your claims, i.e., the rarity of the soul PFP you get, the rarity of a comic you may get, the rarity or ability to claim multiple pieces of art instead of a singular piece of art. They'll all be different weights that will be utilized based off your ownership of these assets. And what our goal is always to make sure that the port key keep expanding. So the port key will always have more assets to be included for future claims as well. But this is like the Genesis season of the port key claim, and that's coming to you guys ideally here in this upcoming month in October. So you'll have that full claim, and then our goal is almost every 2 to 3 weeks you'll have a new claim. So you'll have port key claim would be claim one, then claim two will most likely be will most likely be the PFP claim, right, of the spirits. Then the next claim after that, 2 weeks later, will probably be the comics claim. And the 2 weeks after that will probably be an art claim. Our goal is to give you guys a pretty nice buildup. And in that buildup, there's going to be multiple interviews. It's not just, hey, we're going to give you random, we're actually going to have direct interviews set up with every artist. We're actually going to help you fall in love with art for the first time if you haven't already. And if you have already fallen in love with art, we hope that this will be a fun new experience for you as well, because we're also removing the speculative nature of how much is this worth. Because when it's a bound asset, we really just want you to choose the art that you most connect with. That's what we're trying to build with this art experience to start. And then from there, there's a whole new channel of distribution, as we believe art will be one of the largest focuses in 2024 as well for Tribe, alongside our PFP and gaming and entertainment content too. So as you can see, you'll have these layers of asset ownership, these layers of value that are coming in. And again, it really comes down to unlocking compounding surprises ahead, right? Everything that you do at Tribe, literally everything that you do here at Tribe, right? Like, we just really want to make sure, right, that it's added to your identity. It's compounding to where you're going. It's ensuring that we always honor who you are, what you've done, and how you've helped this community and helped others be a very positive contributor, right? And this is a way that we think there's a total different angle on how you essentially build a slightly better Web3. We are building our own little oasis, but the best part is that for those who believe us, right? They're going to come over to our ecosystem, right? And can be a part of our oasis too, or could give you guys value for being part of our oasis too. And what I can tell you is that there are numerous people who want to partner with us. So what we want to do is we want to have official and unofficial partnerships. And I think that's also beautiful about it. And when I say official, we'll do partnerships, we'll actually work with any partner that we think is high quality, and there will be a way for them to unlock value directly to you guys. So they could even distribute whitelist directly to you guys without even involving us, right? And that could be official or unofficial partnerships as well. And that's kind of again, the other advantage here is that what has this market also historically been missing? It's been missing real social data. It's been really missing real user profile data, right? And we're going to offer that in a way that doesn't A, violate your privacy, B, only gives you upside, and C, can be done by leveraging it all on chain, right? And we think that's actually really special. We think this starts becoming a really interesting nugget of an idea that can coalesce to something much, much larger, right? And this is kind of why Soul has been such a large focus internally. Again, it's a total new art collection, right? And I'll share more, which will be great. I'll show you more. So I'll share you some more rare PFPs. But the other big thing that you're also going to see as well is that we're going to massively open up our partnership pipeline once this goes out. Once this goes out, I think you're going to see Tribe probably partner with 2x or 3x more people. And I think that's going to be huge because that means that it's going to increase your access, right? It's going to increase your allocations. It's going to increase your upside. I mean, we're already getting 200 plus allos for almost every major project we're talking to at this point, right? And this also starts again, and a huge shout out. I mean, I always say this as well, but a huge, huge shout out
to our diamond community. Our diamond community is one of the most valuable users in the ecosystem. And if we get to this, right, like what we're really, really focusing on is allowing ourselves to introduce a whale community from a spend perspective, but also a whale community from an engagement perspective. And that's where we get collectively when you look at this entire tribe. And our diamond users are so critical for that conversation because it gives us an ability to actually communicate our value, right? They can see a healthy floor price, they can see a healthy distribution of holders, they can see high value holders. But you know what's also crazy is that what is my best selling point whenever I talk to any of our partners? I'm like, just come in to one of our live convos, any live convo you want, right? I'm not going to juice this. I'll do these 5, 6 times a week. Come in whenever you want. And what you can see very directly is that you can see how organically our whales are actually communicating. These aren't whales that we've paid off to own our diamonds. These are not whales that we have tricked into holding our assets and be passive holders long term. What it literally is that these are holders who weirdly believe Tribe is one of their core homes. And that is probably the most important thing you can do for a Genesis asset, right? It's one of the most important things you want to create if you want to scale a factory like design as well with some of our models. And the diamonds are really what are allowing us to have the first compounding opportunity. And with that compounding opportunity, it means that they unlock benefits for all of you, right? Even though diamonds do get an amazing upside on the allocations, right? It is also because of diamonds that you guys get collectively the largest allocations compared to any other community out there as well. And that's kind of why I'm really, really honestly honored when I look at the distribution of how this community has been built, right? And this is kind of why this whole ecosystem is going to allow for a lot more surprises. And I mean a lot more. And we're going to show you more of these things coming up, right? And I think it's going to be really fun. But this is really where we're actually moving into a product. And what's really exciting is that we're productizing you guys without extracting or violating your privacy, right? That's actually what I think is somewhat beautiful of this. You are turning into the ad network, right? You are turning into the distribution funnel. And the best part is the primary value goes way back to you, right? You guys get all the allocation. Like 99% of our allo goes to community. We barely hold shit for team. We don't even care about that, right? What we care about is how do we give you guys the most amount of fucking value we can. And that's what these amazing surprises ahead. We think there's even going to be more unique value that will be uncovered, especially as we go on chain. And as we go on chain, it will become undeniable on the value of our users. And again, our numbers aren't our goal here for the port key isn't to get 10,000, 20,000, and none of that kind of crap. I honestly care about only 2,000, 3,000 real value people who want to claim their port key, right? That's it. We're not here to trying to get every single active user in Web3. We're not insane like that. What we're really here for is those 2,000 who believe in what we're building, value the content, value the network, and at least somewhat believe in the thesis that they're willing to play along with us. Those are the people we want to value, right? Way more than anyone else, right? Which will be great. So again, you can mint multiple port keys if you own multiple souls. You can split those across most wallets. I honestly don't recommend this to you. I really don't. I'm the one trying to tell you it's not worth giving us more money. If you are valued user, you want to put your emphasis on one core account, right? And essentially, hopefully, right, be able to get upside in that journey because you directly are building a singular identity that you want to be your external value to the world. And it's not just a wallet, it's a wallet plus your social engagement and social value to a community of thousands of other people, right? Which is pretty awesome. So you're going to be able to unlock that and have all of that stuff as well. Again, Flyers Forever. I know listening is so hard here. The key is free if you own a soul. All of these are free to claim, right? Very easy, very simple to understand. There will be there will be some upsells that are like some bonuses if you'd want to extend. All optional, not required, and just more or less a way for us to give back to the community. And what's really important, right, is understanding that if you do not own a soul or own one of our partner NFTs, you can still buy one and be a part of this if you value the ecosystem moving forward. But remember, owning a port key is not just the value. Owning a port key is the belief that you want your on chain identity to be recognized not only by Tribe, but by other partners, which means that you have to participate and have ownership. And again, your participation could just be owning assets. There's nothing wrong with that. We have tons of diamond users who aren't as active, but they're incredibly valuable because they own 5 or 6 diamonds, right? That's kind of the important thing, right? We want to make sure that no matter what, we're allowing for value in each of those ecosystems too. So let's kind of continue through this. There's just a couple more slides here that are just more visuals here. And of course, the next one will be is showing you some more of the rare PFPs in the collection as well. So here you have a flaming skull with a fire crown as well. Next, you have a Medusa with diamond eyes and with an orb. And then lastly, you have our own version unit that has the Eye of Sauron and laser eyes as well too. So as you can see, the range is pretty intense here, which I think is really cool, right? There's a lot of cool characters here that are really going to allow for it. So let me just upload a couple of these really quickly for you guys as well. So here is the flame mask, which is just insanely cool. And then here is uh man, okay, I'm just gonna show you a couple more random ones. Not all of these traits are gonna be in the collection. I want to be honest with you. I'm gonna show you a few, like some of the little hats are gonna be removed. Okay, let me show you just because I love this Daft Punk helmet, which is pretty cool. It's kind of got this glitch effect, but ignore the little safari hat. We're not gonna use that. But you could just see some like other cool glitch effects that we're doing as well, which is really cool, really interesting, totally different designs. Here is, let me show you the Gundam. Well, I shouldn't call it Gundam, but it is very Gundam influenced, right? Here we go. So you can see a few more of these characters here as well. And these are some of the rarer ones, right? Which and again, even the simple ones are pretty slick as well, right? Like you could have um which one of these is final? Sorry, some of these are on my computer, some of them are still being tweaked. Here's like a devil's head with just a simple fire horn. This is for ICO Beast because he wanted a uh one of the paper crowns from RuneScape. What's it called? Party hat from RuneScape. There you go. I hope that on the Medusa meet your stuff here as well. Um, which is kind of interesting. So you're gonna see kind of quite a few other different elements that are gonna come, and I think this is gonna be the nice little part is that we're gonna kind of unlock quite a few different visuals, different designs, different structures for all of these characters to kind of come to life, right? And again, these will all be a free claim, right? But depending on your rarity of your port key, right? So diamonds, you will be all able to claim a rarer spirit, right? Your odds will be in your favor for some of the higher rarity elements as well.
Some of you will also get the ability to get multiple PFPs. But remember, this is bound, right? So that one claim of what you get is going to be really exciting, really interesting, really different in your identity and your character as well. So you're going to get a lot of cool things that will unlock within our world, right? And keep kind of unlocking each step of the way. So, hopefully this gives you a pretty good insight into like how we're building at Tribe, right? And this is kind of the nice thing about this port key system is that it's moldable. We could keep building on top of this, right? Using a 6551 framework, we're able to keep all those assets all within that same collective wallet, right? And because of that, right, we can then keep unlocking more and more upside, right? And in the end, what can we do in this bear? It's keep on honoring you guys who keep showing up. If you are still here in this bear market, congratulations. You are at a whole different level in this market. You really are. You are here at the bottom of bear. You are here where the market is still trying to figure out where the value of NFTs are going to go. And if you are here, you have a first mover advantage on whatever the next run is going to be, whatever the next opportunity is going to be. We hope Tribe is meaningful in helping you find that opportunity. I do not care if you are end up being an ether only maxi as long as it was Tribe that helped you find that. I do not care if you end up being a dimensionals only maxi. I do not care if you happen to be introduced to grapes and that's where you want to be. What our value is that we're going to get you to your destination to find your tribe, right? We believe tribe long term should be something that should always be taken with you. And what is the inspiration for the port key? It very much is inspired by Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? It was always this idea of having a universal book, right? Or a universal platform or tool that could give you all the knowledge, insight, and upside of your journey, right? And if we could do that in Web3, where we could also take stock of who you are, what you've done, how you've participated, we can then give you all your own individual copy, right? Because each port key will then be unique. Each port key will have its own one of one spirit. Each port key will have its own different art. Each port key will have its own different comics. Each port key is going to be there. Zion, even if you become a cart party maxi, that is fine as long as you acknowledge to me that you know what they're doing. If you want to play that game, that's actually fine. What I just dislike about cart party is they don't admit what they're doing. I don't like that. Just be honest with the market, right? And that's the funny party, right? Funny thing about this, right? Is like, yo, if you want to manipulate, that's fine. And you want to buy your own shit, that's fine. But don't trick the market into thinking you're a successful app. Like, don't do that, right? I really don't. So this is kind of the other thing here as well. And correct, Forza dude, your comic fractures will have a different claim, but it will also allow you to get a other rare second comic as well. So if you've been there, you've been able to be a part of it as well. Here comes the cart party copy pasta. Wonderful. So this is kind of the best thing here, right? Like our whole market and our whole vision for Tribe is that we're not here to lock you down. I really, really, really am not here to be only believe Tribe. Tribe's the only one. Like, no. I think Tribe could be one of the better actors in this market. And I believe Tribe is done a lot to unlock value for each and every one of you. But I hope there's going to be 10 other tribes out there, right? I really do. I really hope there's going to be 10 other tribes out there, 10 other people that are helping you get to the product experience you want. And I hope that they could use similar principles at us. Don't be extractive. Ensure that we continue to deliver value to you, give you new experiences that can only be done on chain, and increase your exposure to greater access to other projects or internal projects as well. And that's where
Tribe goes to another level. That's where Tribe really starts becoming a differentiator in the space. And this is what we're really trying to build for because, again, Tribe now needs to, like, I'm going to give you some really honest thinking here, real quick. What is Tribe's biggest challenge? Tribe now needs to understand what is the 100x opportunity here for our business. That's actually what we think about every single day, right? We have a stable position to be able to jump off, right? It's not the world's greatest environment. It's not the world's uh, easiest environment to navigate, but it is an opportunity unlike any other, right? And even though this market has been so bearish for so damn long, the fact that we all collectively here still believe that there's a brighter future for Web3 makes us kind of equally insane together, right? We are all kind of sharing our insanity together, right? And that's kind of the important thing is, right, is that in this insanity together, right, we're going to really allow you to unlock that with us and hopefully our shared craziness, right? Right, we can actually find the path through that gives you pretty meaningful value. So what is a 100x opportunity for Tribe? Well, one is we do believe we have a unique opportunity to build on-chain reputation in a meaningful way. Secondly, we believe we have a unique opportunity to build a treasury of on chain assets that will increase in value of time. And then lastly, what I think is also incredibly important for Tribe is that we believe that we can build first party projects that can deliver long term impacts too, right? And that's kind of the hard part here. And Zion, you're exactly right. It sucks that it's actually crazy, like some of the takes that people have had on Pudgy Penguins. I just want to speak to it and I'll actually be writing it a little bit larger. You guys already know a lot of my thoughts on Pudgy Penguins, right? I think I actually think Luca, without a doubt, is the best executor in Web3 thus far. I actually don't even think it's close from an NFT based project. His announcement last week is amazing, right? Like really amazing. And it's one of those things though that he's running into the same challenge is how can you create business shareholder value and how does that increase holder value? And that's still one of the hardest challenges to kind of identify still in this market. Because again, this guy is now in 2000 and he has pallets, like he has custom pallets, which means that gets his own stand in the walkways of Walmarts in the US, which is one of the most coveted spots that you can get, right? And he's selling toys for under $10, which is also insane. He's found a really good mass manufacturing ability and he's going wide funnel before everyone else. No one talks about this how cheap his toys are compared to almost any other Web3 brand that's tried, it's nuts. Like it's literally nuts, right? And this is kind of the biggest thing that a lot of people don't recognize is that he's gone into a whole nother level, right? And it's something that's so hard for this market to actually understand. And more importantly, understand its value as an asset holder, right? And this is that realignment that's still needed in this market, right? And this is kind of the other hard challenge is that how can you how can you sustain how can they grow how can they how can you evolve this market and I think Pudgy's at least giving us a breath of air. I don't know if all the pieces in Pudgy are going to work the exact way they want, but I absolutely believe Luca has one of the best plans and has been executing it way better than anyone else. And he's doing one of the hardest climbs. I just want to be honest. Selling fucking consumer physical products at low price points is one of the hardest things ever. Literally one of the hardest things ever. It is so difficult to execute at the level that they're going at and he's doing it fairly admirably.
And if he could find a way, like he needs one more like viral moment. That's what a lot of people don't realize about Pudgy. Pudgy is like one major viral moment away of becoming a seasonal play in this Q4. Like if Luca has his shit ready, and it sounds like he does because he already hinted that he's gonna drop some physical stuff also for Europe. Like he says, the Walmart of toys of Europe, which I don't know what the fuck that is, but I'm interested in what the fuck that's gonna be. He says that's coming up as well this upcoming month. What I think is actually interesting is that if he gets that right, he's like literally one major influencer away of like making this a top toy during Christmas. Like it really could be. Like I think there could be like people. I'm not sure what it's gonna take to be that viral moment. In traditional Web 2, it'd be like go hire a Kardashian. That's actually like the greatest growth hack I could ever tell you. Like the Kardashians have the best click-through rate I've ever seen for any type of celebrity. It's actually insane. So you go put Kim Kardashian holding a Pudgy, bro, that thing will do like 100 million in sales. He'd be sold out like instantly, which is crazy. But right, it's usually like influencer sales. I'm not sure who their ideal partner is and what they're thinking through brand recognition. But if they get that right, correctly, and yeah, they go like those unboxing videos for YouTube Kids. I mean, you have to pay those guys a lot of money too for those unboxing vids. Those kids make so much money, it's nuts. You can actually see some pretty crazy tipping points for Pudgy. People don't see that yet. And there are fair questions of okay, like what does that mean if I own a Pudgy? Like this is the one thing if I was gonna give it to Luca and if he could legally do it, right? His biggest thing that he should be focusing on at the moment right now is finding a way to take a percentage of the net sales and buying back his own floor for digital asset acquisition. Like if he uses revenue generated from a new source and then be able to then buy your rewards in the future, you could absolutely do that. And there's actually a lot of people who do this at the moment right. So I'm actually surprised that he hasn't added that in yet. That's actually the loop that solves this, right? But that does mean he has to disclose some of his sales, which I think is what he's probably trying to hide or the net sales. And I'm not saying hide in a bad way. When you're an early stage company, you don't want to give out your sales like targets and revenues perfectly, right? So I'm not sure what his margins are. I'm not sure how he set up his deals. He might not even be making margins on these toys. Like that's what a lot of people don't realize that he could be just doing this as a growth arm where he's taking like literally a break even on this at the moment right now with no margins. Could be very real. Or he's got an insane opportunity. But if he gets this right, like when he gets this actually right and there's like a buyback to the digital asset, it's killer, right? This is actually what you should always be creating. So Tribe has a slight buyback like program that we create through Village Partners. Every Village Partner is buying a diamond, and then that's also going to get locked over time in the Tribe Vault. So there's a small condensing of supply on that. But if we could actually solve this long term, there could be something really interesting here, right? And very few people are thinking through these types of structures. And the real reason why they're not thinking through these structures yet is they're not generating enough revenue, right? Tribe is almost at that point. Like Tribe's one, like if I'm gonna give you like the best alpha if you're a diamond holder, right? Tribe is one launch away from being able to like push buybacks to another level, right? Because we want to reacquire our like that's actually a very large focus of what we're building for as well, right? And we're just one large launch away for being able to do this correctly, right? And we're still timing it, and we're being understanding of the market, and we know exactly what we're doing, but we're trying to hit a certain revenue threshold that matters, right? And this is kind of why we want to make sure that we get anything positively right out the gates that is meaningfully driving consumer revenue, like if we start driving consumer revenue, it's kind of game over. We're right now driving B2B revenue at the moment. That is the primary growth for the business at the moment, right? And then we're offering you guys, right, allocation and partnership upsides and other content here. But as soon as a B2C revenue channel is sustainable, right, instantly, I'm going to funnel a large portion of that net revenue for diamond buybacks, 100%. And that's what we are already starting. We're already going to keep adding in, and over time you're going to see more of these models get more, at least hopefully valuable, as we kind of scale. So we got a lot of cool ways of building this up, right? And what we're hoping, right, is that it's an organic holder base though. That's the other important thing. We don't pump diamonds yet. We're not focusing on any of that yet. It doesn't mean that we don't want to get to that level. But our goal still right now, right, is we want to make sure that we get to a healthy place for both businesses, right? So this is kind of the nice little thing, is that we can build that structure accordingly and get to that level of scale. So there's a lot of cool pieces here, right? There's a lot of good insights here. We think we're actually connecting a lot of interesting dots that still allow us to sustain through this bear while still ensuring that we're protecting our IP. And that's the beauty about all of this, because everything I just told you about Soul does not mention anything about Oath, Lost Realms, Reapers, Ronin, Tabula Rasa, realistically, right? Fury, none of these are mentioned, because these are all IPs that we have waiting, that are ready, right? When market is in our favor. I don't think there's another business in Web3 that has a better portfolio ready to go. Like, I really don't, right? And that's the beauty of this, is that that portfolio can then be accelerated, right? When we see a little bit of health, a little bit of life, a little bit of growth, and a little bit of conviction that this market won't shit itself again, right? And that's kind of the amazing thing of what we're aiming for and what we're building for. And when we have, I mean, you guys remember there's GM Tomo, there's a whole Tomo collection ready, right? There's a modern pro collection that's already been outlined, right? There's quite a few other elements here that are going to come in that will unlock value at core layers, right? And core revenue and core opportunities. It's just the same thing. We're not here to extract you, and we're not here to give you an asset that will most likely dovetail, right? That's what we're trying to avoid completely, right? And that's going to be the important thing as we kind of keep up, keep this thing at scale and going through this as well. So, guys, with that, I want to be conscious of time, because I actually diamond chat right after this. I mean, although diamonds, you're already getting a lot of this, so it'll be a lot shorter. But let's do our favorite thing and head to the secret chamber. We're going to do secret chamber today. So it's in the engage and earn category. If you go to that, and then I'm going to give new secret chamber code. Oh, sorry, one sec. Let me do this. Roles, create roles, season. Also, a little bit of alpha. Season 3 will be ending pretty soon. Probably in the next, it'll probably end in the next month. So in the next couple of weeks is what we're targeting here as well. Season 3, uh, uh, port. Let's call this port key introduction. Uh, port key intro. Yep, that's great. Sorry. It's always fun to do these last little Discord bots. Perfect. All right. Let me use this. I want to give you guys 60 seconds. Give you enough time. Port key intro. All right. The password is 4697. The password is
4697. Make sure you use the /secret function in that.